Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. I'm Dylan. And joining me as always is Ben. And this week we have special guests, Scott and Frankie from Shoot the Flick.
Yay!
Woo!
Hi.
It's I feel like it's a long time coming collab. We've kind of just talked across Instagram messages and
Yes.
interacted a lot. Um, and so it feels good to finally sit down and discuss a movie. And I'm very excited because it's a movie I've never seen. I like being the one who has not seen the movie because this is kind of where our podcast started from. One of our friends had never seen Jurassic Park, and we were like, "That's crazy." For some reason, we got
Pretty
to get this
wild.
on mic. so, it's fun to be on the other end of it and be like, "You've never seen the producers? Like, come on, what's going on?"
In all fairness, though, Jurassic Park is a
Yeah.
much bigger sin.
I feel like no one's yelling at you because you've never seen the producers.
Yeah, there were a couple when we first started out that we were legitimately like, "What are you talking about? You've never seen what was it, Raiders?"
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost
gosh.
Ark.
It's like what? How how are you a functioning adult?
Wow, God, yeah. I mean, 12 Angry Men, I'll give you 12 Angry Men. It's old, but like Cameron
Yeah.
loved that movie once we watched it. I was like,
Oh
how
yeah.
have you not seen this movie? But this week, we're taking a look at the 1967 film directed by Mel Brooks, The Producers. It stars Zero Mostel, Gene Wilder, Dick Shawn, Kenneth Mars, Estelle Winwood. I'm just naming names off Letterbox. I don't know any of these people. I'm not too affluent in the 60s actors besides Gene Wilder. On our podcast, we're discussing this off air before, but that we have done Blazing Saddles and we've done Young Frankenstein on the podcast before. And I know Ben kind of loves Mel Brooks. You guys picked out this movie actually because this was on your top movies. So I don't know if we want to get started on what I knew going in or anything like that, or if you guys want to talk about like why you love this movie so much.
Well, I know for me, one of the reasons I put it out there as like a choice, an option for y'all, because like it's definitely not my favorite Mel Brooks movie, but it's a movie that I saw very early on. It's probably one of the first, if not the first, Mel Brooks movie I saw. And I hadn't seen it in a while, so I think we were both just like hadn't seen it in a long time, but remember really loving it. So like, let's throw it out there and see if they want to do it. Um, but yeah, I'm curious what you knew about it going in, because Mel Brooks can sort of be a wild card, at the, especially earlier in his career.
Ben, you had seen this, right? I just want to.
No.
Oh, you hadn't?
Oh, you
What?
hadn't seen
No.
it either? Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
okay. I thought you
No,
had
that's why
because
when you sent me the list, it was like, well, we've done every other one. I feel like this one's got to be. I will tell you, I do remember, and again, this is, I remember in 2005 or early 2006, my dad renting the remake,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I think I watched like the first like 15 minutes, and again, I was 10 or 11, and I'm just like, I don't
Yeah,
really
you
get
can't
it.
go based
Doesn't
on
really make
that.
sense to me. So I knew I knew the basic premise of it, of what was going on, but I'd never actually sat down and watched through the entirety of it.
uh,
Well,
I
in
feel
law,
like I was gonna say I feel like Ben. I thought you were the one who told me about Springtime for Hitler.
Oh, well,
I mean, everyone knows about Springtime for
yeah.
Hitler.
Well, that's like the only thing I knew about this movie was that like there's a play called Springtime for Hitler within it.
Hmm.
And I feel like I loosely knew the plot of like they try to make the biggest flop in history, but
Hmm.
as I said before, I was like making breakfast and like doing the dishes after breakfast, and I was like, "Isn't this movie a musical? I've already watched like 40 minutes of it, and there's not been a musical number in it." And, and so we talked about like, "Oh yeah, well, it's not a musical. It became a stage musical, then it became a movie." And I was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, okay, that makes more sense." But that was the first half of the movie. But then watching the second half, there is a lot more musical numbers happening in the movie. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm just happy I got to see part of Springtime for Hitler. I was I was wondering if it was going to be one of those movies where it's like talked about the whole time,
Mm.
and then we never get to experience any of it.
No, Mel
Um,
Brooks was always good at delivering on his promises.
Oh God.
I feel like I'm kind of iffy on Mel Brooks. Like I'm not like a huge Mel Brooks fan. Like Blazing Saddles was funny at times. I wasn't like completely sold on it. I enjoyed Young Frankenstein a lot. But like I feel like his movies are a little hit or miss for me. So going in, I
I
was
get
kind of
it.
like I was excited, but I was a little.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's points where his humor hasn't aged great at times.
Yeah.
But if you are willing to like let some of those things go and just enjoy some of the moments, like there are great things just writing wise and how witty he is with certain parts of his dialogue. Like this movie won best screenplay.
Yeah, this relies more on the dialogue, whereas like something like Young Frankenstein or Spaceballs is more like physical gags. Not
Mhm.
all the time, but a lot more physical stuff.
Yeah. I feel like I would agree with that. I feel like the dialogue carries this movie quite a bit.
I was honestly shocked because I was expecting more visual gags
Mm-hmm.
than what I was like, really? Huh. I got to the end of it and I was like, I kind of expected more. I expected more Mel Brooks. I expected even further off the rails and off the wall of what was going to be
This is his
going
first
on.
movie too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is bold. It kind of reminds me of It's Always Sunny. Like the very first episode of It's Always Sunny, the pilot is like the gang gets racist, and I'm like, bold choice is a first episode.
Whoa.
I'll tell you, bold choice is a first movie. I'm gonna go straight to Springtime for Hitler, and they're wearing Nazi armbands at one point. Like
Yeah,
I was like, damn, all right.
and that's Mel Brooks like dipping his toe in the pool. Like it's not
Yeah.
even full force Mel Brooks yet.
Let me see what the audience likes. Then we can really push the edge.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say like if you watch his more like general audience popular movies and are kind of then I don't think producers is going to be the one that pushes you over and be like, no, I changed my mind. He's a genius and I love him. I think it's interesting to see like the trajectory of his career though, and how it started from here and how we ended up at like, you know, Spaceballs. Because I don't count his 90s movies. They don't exist.
What?
Those
You
aren't
don't
real.
love Dracula with Leslie Nielsen?
Leslie Nielsen. Who? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is.
No, I will say, I feel like I liked this more than Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
I
interesting.
feel like, to me, I liked this type of humor more. I like the more dialogue. We had just done. It hasn't dropped yet, but we just did. What was that movie we did, Ben?
Top Secret.
Top Secret. That's what it was. Which had it had
okay.
those gags, like the visual
Yes.
gags and all that, but it had some of that witty dialogue and the jokes where it kind of like some of the humor is so stupid, but at the same time you got to like sit for a second and like think about the joke, and then you're like, oh, that is a good that is a good joke. This movie has moments of that, but even like I don't know, Gene Wilder's kind of got like I got a soft spot in my heart for Gene Wilder. I like him as a comedian. I feel like one of my favorite bits in the movie was the like, I'm having hysterics. I'm having hysterics. Now I'm wet and having hysterics.
Jeez.
Well, because so Brooks initially thought this was going to be a play. Like he wrote it to be a stage play, and he brought it to a friend who was a producer at the time. He goes, "This can't be a stage play. There's too many
There's too
scenes.
much going on.
This has to be a movie." So like you can tell by like the first like that big first scene where they're in his office, it feels like a stage play.
Yeah.
So the two of them, like Zero and Gene Wilder, bouncing off each other, works so well.
Well, because they both had stage experience at that point. I think this was Gene's like second. This was the first movie he starred in, but it was his second movie ever. So
Well, and I can't remember where I heard him tell this story, but I think it was Mel Brooks. His girlfriend was in a play with Gene Wilder,
Yeah, and
and then he
Bancroft.
kind of pitched the idea to him.
Yep.
And Gene was like, "I love it. If you ever get it green light, I'm in." And then after it got in for the movie, Gene was like, "Are you sure?"
Basically, yeah, that's basically the story. Like Gene's told the story a bunch of times about like how he's like, this is never gonna get made. Nothing good ever gets
Yeah.
made, so it's not gonna happen. But sure, I'm down.
That was the beginning of like a beautiful friendship because he couldn't get rid of Gene Wilder. They were
Yeah.
very attached to the hip from then on.
Yeah. Do you know about their relationship? Like, did Mel Brooks always write with Gene in mind for his leading roles, or was it like
I
a?
think when they got to a certain point and Gene was like writing with him, they became
Mm,
like when it got to that block of time where it was like Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs, like that heightened era was like very much, even though he wasn't in
No,
Spaceballs,
he
but he
wasn't.
was in, oh God, what was the other one?
In the Navy, in the Army. No,
No, oh God, wait, to Google. Hold on. Continue to speak while I try to figure this out.
but yeah, the two of them just had like an amazing working relationship, and they knew once they knew how to write for each other, it worked really well. Like I don't feel like Brooks has had that guy since they weren't working together anymore. Like
Well, yeah, there's definitely something like a missing piece.
that's what Leslie Nielsen. To go back to Dracula, that kind of feels like that. I'm gonna try and replace Gene with another
Oh, yeah.
comedic talent, and I have not seen the movie, but it looks terrible. So just the poster, it's like I'm like, no.
yeah, there was just something about Gene Wilder that captured like a whole generation of people from this to Willy Wonka that you just kind of like just fell in love with.
Yeah, I think he was just genuine.
It's like the manic energy too. It's just everything about him was like
You thought Wonka was going to hug and or kill you at the same time. So that was a thing.
Yeah, he did have kind of a, which worked somehow, both comedically, but also kind of that air of mysteriousness, or I guess
Yeah.
mystery would be the right way to say that. He kind of had that air of like you don't really know what he's thinking, which made sense then with how quick he was.
I feel like this may be offensive. I don't know. I feel like Jim Carrey kind of gives me similar. Like you don't quite know where it's headed next.
oh well yeah, especially at the height of Jim Carrey, like
Yeah,
the 90s into the early 2000s where you were like, where are we going here? Like
Yeah.
which upswing or downswing are we about to? I thought we were at a 10, and I'm worried we're about to go to either 20 or 0
Oh, yeah.
very quickly.
it's always interesting, and it's even funnier because like when you go back to the producers, like the guy Dick Shaw who plays LSD.
Jesus.
We kept joking that it's almost like he's doing a Robin Williams impression.
No, it sounded like Robin Williams mixed with like oh God, Steve Martin in like SNL when he did I forget the skit. I'm losing my mind. He looked like Steve Martin mixed with Robin Williams, and it was
With
freaking me
Wild and
out.
Crazy Guys.
Yeah, with you
Oh,
wild
yeah.
and crazy guys, and I'm like, who is this person?
And it's just funny because we're sitting there going like, neither of those two got famous yet. They're like not even a
No,
thing yet.
Robin Williams was like a teenager at this time, so he was like no one knew who he was, but he sounds just like Robin Williams.
The not knowing anything about this movie going in, for the first like taste of the movie to be Max like swooning old ladies for their checks, like and it's like the whole credits, like
The opening sequence was 100 years long, and I did not remember that. I was like, "Can we? Okay, we get it." Like he's banging old ladies to get money. Like, you got it. Okay, enough.
And the fact that it's like, oh man, I think it's the first lady, the hold me, touch me lady, where he's like, she like wants to like role
Sure.
play something, and then he's like, let's do the chauffeur and the
Contessa.
I forget what he says, but then they're like, they get in the car, and he's like,
Pull
eyes on
over.
the road. I can't keep my eyes off you. All right, that's enough for today.
Please. That's enough.
I was just like, what is happening in this movie? Like,
I liked how every time of that too, she just kept going and insulting him. Just like pull over. What? You disgusting pig. It was just like, okay, wait, what?
It's like, okay.
Oh god. But the
that
best
whole
part of it, the two of them, both Gene and Zero, are so expressive in their faces. Like when she insults him and calls him a fat pig, the look on his face is so great.
I was just kind of taken aback, and then like you don't know the relationship, but like when Leo walks in and he's just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I'm nervous. And then he's like sitting outside. I thought it was like, oh, like he knows Max. He's like about to come back. And I was like, oh no, I'm just like an accountant. I'm coming to like check your books. I was like, what?
At one point when he walked in, like he said something, Zero, and then Gene looked like he was physically trying to hold back laughter in the middle of the take, and I'm like, okay, deep breath. But they definitely had a nice back and forth.
I feel like one of my my hidden I wouldn't call them hidden gem characters, but one of my one of my favorite characters in the movie, maybe I shouldn't say that either, the Franz Lieberkin.
Oh my god.
I just feel
Wild.
he's such a goofy character. I feel like it's a little insulting to Germans, but
It's like the Pigeon Man from Hey Arnold. I don't know if that's too deep a cut, but it's just some guy on the roof tending to his birds, screaming about Hitler, as you do.
Hey, you guys said you're from New York. It's kind of like what it's like
yeah,
in the city,
I
right?
mean,
We've met some pigeon people.
yeah.
But just his whole character, and then when he comes and like chases them after the movie's like a hit and people were laughing at it, and he's like trying to kill them, then he's like gonna kill himself, and he's like, "Dook," and it doesn't click, and he's just like disappointed, and they're like, oh no, go kill the actors, kill the actors.
Like, whoops.
Hands him
The
the
best
pile
part,
of
though, is
money.
when he
Here, go buy
barges
some
in-
bullets.
When he barges into their office, the way they shot it was weird because like he's like they're on the floor, the two of them, and then the guy standing over them, and there's just a shot of him shooting right at them, but somehow he misses, and then he starts shooting all over the room. It's just chaos.
I will say what felt like the most Mel Brooksian of that scene to me was when they cut to the open door and the receptionist is just like dancing like it's a 60s beach movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this feels very much like this was a Mel Brooks thing.
I was in that scene. I was like, wow, I really like how they did the sound design here, where it was like, all right, go to work, and she starts dancing, and then they shut the door, and it like completely like cuts out the sound. I was like, all right, that's pretty
Soundproof
good.
office for no reason.
Well, so fun fact, because we were just watching the special features on the DVD we have. Do you know who was initially supposed to play the German?
Mel Brooks? No.
That would have been funny.
That would have been very funny. But no, Dustin Hoffman.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it would have.
No, I don't think it would have.
I feel like it would have
And
been a
it's
little
funny
bit too serious.
Yeah, and they called him like right before he was gonna shoot it, and they're like, "Hey, they called me. They wanted me to audition for The Graduate, so I'm gonna go." And Mel Brooks was like, "Okay," and then that was that.
Is this the time where I
Fine,
drop
yes.
my fun fact that I ate dinner next to Dustin Hoffman? That's my one Dustin Hoffman story. We were like in Santa Monica, and we were like eating at some restaurant with my uncle and stuff. And my uncle's like, I think that's Dustin Hoffman next to us. I'm like, what? And then my wife is like, who's Dustin Hoffman? It's like, actor.
Oh.
You probably never seen anything he's in. My wife doesn't watch like movies like I do, so.
Oh god.
I mean, that's fair. But
That is fair because I'm thinking now. I'm like, okay, but what's like in the last 20 years, like a general population movie that like everybody knows from Dustin Hoffman? It's like I don't know.
I would say
if
The
you haven't
Graduate.
seen The
but-
Graduate,
Me
if you haven't seen The
parents.
Graduate and you
No.
haven't seen Rain Man, I feel like you're kind of.
Oh yeah, Rain Man.
Even Rain Man's getting up there. Rain Man's probably.
I was gonna say
Yeah, I
Rain
feel
Man's not 20 years. Though.
Yeah,
Rain
no
Man's
one talks
probably,
about Rain Man
probably
anymore.
30.
Tootsie. No.
That's even around. that's even-
Yeah, I don't even think
Yeah, I'd
nobody
say
talks
probably.
about Tootsie.
I'd probably say you're probably right. It's probably Meet the
Oh.
Fockers.
It's Megalopolis. Duh.
Oh god.
Oh my god, we saw that in theaters because I
I'm jealous.
hate myself, and I was like, we have to watch this and see it for ourselves. Oh jeez.
Ben and I talk about this all the time. Is that like once you have kids, you don't have an opportunity to go to the movies as much. And there's so many things that I would love to see in theaters. Until Dawn, I feel like was one I saw you guys like shat on that movie. Megalopolis
Yeah, it
is
was
one
rough.
that I would love to go see in theaters. The new, oh god, what is it? Tim Robinson movie, Friendship. Like I want to see that in theaters.
Oh,
I feel like
yeah, I haven't heard anything about that yet. I gotta look that up and see.
I will say nothing that I've watched at home. I feel like has been taken. Like the experience has been taken away.
Yeah,
right?
don't let the Hollywood people lie to you and tell you you have to experience it you don't have to go to the theater. It's okay. You can just
I only
do
think
it at
there's
home.
like, I think there's only like the occasional thing that, like a movie like Top Gun or like the Top Gun Maverick thing where it's
Right.
like first person view of that thing. To see it with the room surrounding you is one thing, but to be in the pitch black and have it like blown
Sure.
up in
Oh,
your
yeah.
face,
That's fair. That's more of like a spectacle.
that I feel like
kind of
yeah,
thing.
That's
I
it's
think
spectacle movies. I feel like.
yes. I was gonna say I think spectacle movies are like your popcorn flicks.
Mhm.
Probably get more out of it, but I don't think there's any of like the Oscar contender type movies. And it's like,
No.
oh, if you don't see it in theaters, you're not getting the full experience.
It's like,
Well, I'm
be
sorry, but if
quiet.
you can't tell your story on a 55-inch TV,
yeah,
then
I
maybe
mean,
your story's not that good.
you're right.
A cult movie, like if this plays at like a midnight screening, like the producer plays at like a midnight screening, I'm thinking of like the what's that theater in Ann Arbor, Ben? The State.
Oh, the State Theater?
Like if they
Yeah.
played this at the State Theater, I'd probably go see it. It's like it's almost like a I wouldn't say it's like The Room where it's like a bad movie that's like enhanced by like having people there, but as like a cult movie that's like a cult comedy, I feel like it would be
Yeah.
enhanced with a big
People just
crowd.
throw
I'll
little
reach-
blue blankets at the screen.
I'll reach out, Dylan. I've got someone from there on my LinkedIn. I'll reach out to him.
Oh, let's set it up. Cocktails and Classics presents the producers.
That would be so
Presents the
funny.
producers, followed by Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay,
And then
what
you-
kind of double feature is that?
The
great,
producers
Dylan.
followed by
I-
the other producers. The
But, yeah,
Dylan, I have a great idea for how we can make so much money off of that podcast. All we have to do is find a bunch of people and sell them on 50% of the profit.
oh my god.
we'll produce a podcast called Springtime for Hitler.
You know what the sad thing is? In today's day and age, that might take off.
Oh my, well, okay, because that's what I wanted to. Weirdly, because you know, in these trying times, because when you talked about Blazing Saddles, like the title, I think, of your episode was basically like, could this have been done today? So,
No,
Could this movie be made today?
so, gentlemen,
Yeah.
I think the producers could, and I
we
know
did it in
they did the.
2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Kinda.
think. Yeah, I think there were more issues with that than just the actual concept of it.
Mhm.
I'm honestly, I feel like this would be a movie that would be ripe for a good remake.
Mhm.
But I
And-
don't want it as a musical though. Just remake
I agree.
this.
It doesn't need to be a musical.
Yeah,
You know.
no, that's where I think they kind of crashed. Is they, one, in making it a musical, you had to cast very much musically inclined people. And again, I haven't watched the remake in its entirety. I remember watching the first. I think I watched to the point that they introduced Will Ferrell's character.
Yes.
And
Who is Will Ferrell in the?
He is Franz
He's
Liebken.
yeah.
he's Franz.
Yeah, the face. The face.
And the other difference is that they don't cast someone else as Hitler. Franz plays Hitler in the 2005
Yes.
version.
Interesting.
Well, because the LSD character doesn't kind of work now.
Yeah,
What? I thought it
yeah.
was so funny.
Oh, he's hysterical.
Oh,
But he just
his musical
His
number.
intro,
His musical
his
number.
intro song.
Yeah, I was like,
felt-
this is like the Doors. What the?
Yeah, it was.
I was like,
Absolutely.
this is so much,
nuts.
just very much like late 60s anti-war angst.
Yeah.
wearing a Campbell soup can around his neck.
I didn't notice that until the second time I watched it,
And
I was like,
the thigh-high boots.
"What is that supposed to mean?" What
Is-
does that
I love that when
represent?
he's Hitler, he still has the earring in too.
Oh my god! It was I can't.
And he
What
like
is
kept
this
the,
baby? My Führer never said baby. I'm like, sir, calm down.
I'm not leaving you.
If we were to do a more modern quote unquote remake of the producers, we could fix that and just make him like, I don't know, like a modern like Broadway douche. You know what I mean? Like some guy who thinks he's, very hoity-toity and all about the art and like
Yeah, I was
very
gonna
into
say,
himself. We could just do that instead.
I feel like
That's
the
basically the modern version of it.
Yeah.
cheap way would he's like a Gen Z vlogger or something.
Yeah,
that's like
exactly.
Oh, I mean, the cheap way is that he wants to turn it into a hip-hop musical.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I mean, if you want to draw the cheap heat,
Yeah.
you attack the Golden Boy on Broadway, and then you've got it.
Jeez.
I feel like
I thought you were making like a Kanye West joke. Like we make it that kind of hip hop.
No, I was making a. If you want to do it to stereotype Broadway today, you just make him a
do a
Lin-Manuel
Lin-Manuel-
Miranda ripoff.
Manuel
Oh
Miranda.
my
Yeah,
God.
that's fair. Because at this point, I mean, he's done so much at this point, and it's been so oversaturated. And I like Lin-Manuel Miranda, but it's a lot. We could very easily parody him now. It's very easy to do.
Yes,
So.
I like Lin-Manuel Miranda. I just sometimes wish Lin-Manuel Miranda would do less Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes, I completely agree with you.
As someone who has the Encanto soundtrack on 24/7 in my household right now, it's
I'm done.
it's. I agree, sure.
I feel like the hardest part though to recast nowadays would be Bialystok. I don't feel like we get that actor now. Like we had Nathan Lane do it in the remake, and Nathan Lane does fine, but he's not.
I think he's probably the best part of the remake.
He is the best part of it, but
of
he's
the,
not
of the movie.
He doesn't bring it to the level that Zero Mostel brings it.
Sure.
I think that the person that would have done it, you can't do it now because he's been playing this character for like 3 or 4 years. Marty Short. It's basically Marty Short's character on Only Murders. That over the top Broadway theatrical, and he's got the expressionism to pull it off. But otherwise, I don't think you have that type of a personality.
Like
Maybe like an Eric Stone Street coming off of. I don't want to play on like the him being the over the top expressive character, but I feel like maybe.
I was thinking.
See, I think
Yeah, sorry.
I think Bloom is almost the harder character to find because he kind of has to toe the line of being at times the straight man, but also the straight man who's funnier than
Who sometimes
the far
flips.
out.
Yeah.
Like Bloom, I feel like you could find. Like I feel like there's actors who can kind of play that role a little bit. I just don't know. I feel like I was trying to think of like Bialystok people who I feel like could get there, and like maybe Jack Black, but he's never kind of done.
I feel like Jack
that.
Black is so very much like the go-to guy. Like, oh, we need like a big silly guy. Let's get Jack Black
he's
in here.
silly,
It's like,
but there's
stop
also
it.
like a sleaziness and like a
Yeah, but
corruptness, and I think
no one wants that from Jack Black. No
Yeah.
one wants a sleazy Jack Black.
I don't know why. I was thinking like John Goodman, but I don't know if he's like. I don't know if he's like
old
as
now,
expressive
but
expressive
back
over
in the day.
top. especially now, like I don't know if he'd get as like over the top
Yeah.
as like Bialystok is at some points, but
No, like if it was John Goodman right around like
What, Roseanne? After Roseanne, he was
no,
young
I
in
was
Roseanne.
thinking of oh god, bowling movie.
Big
Big
Lebowski.
Lebowski.
Thank you. Okay,
Bowling movie. I love how that's how you describe it. Big Lebowski.
Kingpin? No.
Okay. Great.
my brain shut down for a second. It's okay.
It's funny. But yeah, like I get what you're saying. I think also the problem is just in general, like today, it's gonna sound like I'm some old lady, like back in my day, but I feel like today, just a straight up comedy is not as marketable. like
We literally just had this conversation on the podcast.
We had this conversation, on the pod that it's just so difficult to make a comedy that makes money.
I
and
don't
just a pure
know why
comedy.
that is. Like, because back in the 90s, hey, there's so many quotable comedies from the 90s that we grew up with, and that just doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know why. I don't
Yeah,
get
even
it. I don't know.
I mean, getting into like our childhood, like super bad has some drama elements in it.
Sure.
But it's I feel like it is like one of the last like pure comedies that I can think of.
I think it's
That or like
in that era.
Anchorman 2 maybe.
I was gonna
Anchorman
say like
too,
that wasn't The Hangover after that.
I think so. I think it was like
Had to
2009.
have been late. Yeah, late 2000s.
The first
Yeah, 2000.
Hangover, I feel like kind of hits that, and then the sequels were just kind of cash grabs. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think the issue just being that I had this conversation too after we did the podcast with someone at work who said it's also just a different thing of a trip to the movie theater is now an excursion. It can cost so much to do that, like, it's like, is this comedy worth spending the money to see in a theater, or do I just wait till it comes to streaming?
Mm-hmm.
The issue is if you're gonna wait until it comes to streaming, they're not gonna make as much money on it.
True.
And at that point, for streaming services, it's cheaper just to greenlight like a stand-up special where
Mhm.
the artist is also selling it and making money off the ticket sales, everything else to kind of help cover, and then publish. But yeah, I think we had the conversation talking about, I can't remember what comedy we were talking about, but
Oh boy.
we were talking about wow, no, I'm blanking on the movie.
Describe it. I can guess it.
Kieran Culkin.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, Real Pain.
Yes.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
no, wait, I know the movie. Shit,
Yeah,
damn it.
but that one it's funny, but that's more like for
we
sure
were
a
talking about
dramedy.
how we were talking
yeah.
about how it's more of a, it's
But it's
listed
small
as a comedy,
too. It's a
but
small
it almost
scale movie.
Yeah, but it almost feels more like a drama than a comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's, when it's always listed under a comedy, it feels kind of weird. But we got talking about the different, and I think it's a thing now where it looks like studios are kind of making more comedy movies again, but they're definitely getting lower budgets.
Yeah.
They're just always
I didn't get the
blended
chance to.
with.
I didn't get the chance to finish it, just because of children's sleep schedules and you can't stay up too late. But the Let's Start a Cult, the Stavros Akilos movie,
Okay.
was pretty good. It's just like I said, it's definitely not a Hollywood blockbuster like a Anchorman or anything like that you would
Right.
expect. But I think it's gonna kind of start to swing back around, and we'll get more. But I think they are gonna be more kind of lower budget, underground kind of feeling. I have a feeling comedies that come out in the next couple years, maybe in a decade or two, we're gonna look at as being like the cult hits of that era.
Well, I also feel like comedy, like we don't get a lot of straight comedies. I feel like anymore. I feel like we get a lot of comedy mixed with a lot of other genres.
Right.
Like I feel like the horror comedy has become
Yeah.
really big recently.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a lot cheaper.
It's
Yes,
also
what's his
a lot
face?
cheaper.
A lot cheaper.
Christopher Landon or whatever. That's like all
Yeah.
that fucking dude makes. The
Like-
Death Day for You and
Yeah, Happy
Mhm.
Death Day for You, Bodies. Some stuff like Tucker and Dale versus Evil,
Ready or Not.
Ready or
which
Not. Is basically
making a
horror
sequel of that.
comedy. Yeah. So it's just like because
I
like
didn't see the
even
first
like
one, so I was seems
Ready or
weird
Not
that
was
they.
good. I liked Ready or Not.
That's the one with the
there's
what's her name, Samara
Samara
Weaving.
yeah.
Weaving. Mm-hmm.
So there's a I feel like I don't know like the days of like Liar Liar
Oh, Liar Liar was so good.
and like I was trying to think of like the last commercially like really successful
Yeah, like
comedy.
like
It's
big.
probably like Anchorman, Accepted, right around that time.
I guess.
Well,
right?
Hangover.
Hangover.
Well, yeah, Hangover. We said Hangover.
So, but that's probably those three movies are probably like a 3 to 4 year span,
Yeah.
and then I feel like afterwards it's like we kind of went away.
Well, I wonder if part of it is just like also just making a lot of junk. I feel like horror. I feel like had same concept. Like I feel like it's kind of around the time where like indie cinema kind of like became a lot bigger around like early 2000s, where it was like, oh, okay, now people can make low budget horror. We can make these comedy movies like Clerks and stuff, and
Mhm.
like it'll do well. You don't have to put a lot of money into it, but then like I feel like around like 2008, a little later, it was like just so much garbage horror, garbage comedy, and then it like oversaturated, and I feel like people kind of got turned off of like those kind of genre movies, where it was like, I don't know, like, and that's kind of right around I feel the time when like you start getting like Iron Man, and you start getting like those like Marvel movies, and the blockbuster starts to kind of take over. So I feel like that's it. I feel like maybe now that, well, I don't even know. I don't even know if studios would want to take a swing on something like a low budget comedy now. But I feel like as we start to realize, hey, it's expensive to make movies. Not everything has to be a $300 million Dune or whatever. Let's throw 50 million to this guy and let him make Anchorman 3. I don't know, like.
Or hell,
the-
throw $949,000 to Mel Brooks. That's how you get
Oh,
the
God.
producers.
Hey, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Martin Scorsese's like just his budget just keeps going up. So
Oh my God.
he
Just
wants
make
like
the same movie again.
What's crazy to me with Mel Brooks is that his movie is low budget, and it seems like just the Springtime for Hitler scene itself should have cost more than that.
Oh,
to
they put
make.
like all the money into that.
it all,
Between the
it all went
costumes
right
and
in
the
that.
yeah.
The cannons going off.
Oh my
All
God.
the other
Yeah, because then like at the end of the movie when they have the actual explosion, it's literally just like a paper, like it looks like a paper thing, and they just put like a thing behind it. Boom.
I
So,
almost feel
yeah.
like one thing I feel like about this movie is it's I don't want to say it's necessarily like echoing the plot of the movie, but it almost feels like this movie is like trying to be as ridiculous as a Springtime for Hitler, in the sense of like the concept is so crazy, but it works and it's funny.
It
Like,
just might
like,
work.
Yeah,
like
that's a great way to describe it.
I don't know. Like it kind of is like almost like like it's almost like meta about itself, of like this dude's sleeping with old ladies, and I don't know.
Oh, it's again, it's so funny because this movie did when it like
Sorry, the dog stretched. I don't know if you heard that.
um but this movie had like Jewish communities were like against it when it first came out.
And Mel Brooks, a Jewish man, was like, "I'm doing this for you.
Like,
Why are you yelling at me?"
and it's just so funny that like it is pretty much just satire and like making fun of stuff, and that's just kind of what he does is he's just making fun of things. Like Bialystok's based off a guy he knew when he was 16, an actual producer.
Doing crazy shit to get money.
So it's just like he just likes poking the bear, and that's just what he
Yeah,
does.
that's what it is. Maybe that's part of the problem too with like modern comedy is like, in mainstream wise anyway, people are so scared of getting like canceled or whatever the hell,
Yeah.
So people don't want to push that envelope as much and really like go outside the box and do crazy shit that could potentially piss some people off.
Yeah, I I just feel like, obviously you're it's funny because you're towing a line of like pissing people off,
Mm.
but you're also like trying to push the edge. Like I feel like that's the thing that a lot of comedians that I don't want to get into the whole canceled woke whatever
Sure. Yeah, that's a
crap, but
whole
like
other.
it's like obviously like at a certain point like you're getting punished because it's not funny. Like like
Oh yeah.
it's not that like people like we can't take offensive comedy. It's like it's not
Hmm.
funny. Like like
Yeah.
if you
If
were
you're
being
it
funny, people will give you like they'll give you that
correct.
like that breath and like like this movie for instance, like it's a Jewish person like making fun of like this like craze about Hitler and all this stuff. Like
Hmm.
it's for the Jewish community. Like sure it's a little racy, some of some of the humor is there, but like it's funny, so it's fine. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like at a certain point people just they try to like they try to toe the line too much and they go too far and then they're like,
Hmm.
what you guys are sensitive now? Like, come on, guys. And it's like, well, no.
Yeah. But if you're pushing the envelope just to push it and be like, oh, see how edgy I am, then you can see right through that as an audience. Whereas if you're doing that with a purpose, whether comedic or sending a mess, whatever, as long as you're doing it for a narrative purpose, then that will also reach the audience and, it'll have a more generally at least positive result. But if you're doing it just to do it and be like, I'm so cool and edgy, and then like, ew, gross.
I feel like I could just name drop 100 comedians right now, but I'm not gonna.
Let's see, no.
They'll never listen to my little podcast, so it's okay. Fuck you, Matt Rife. No, I'm kidding.
Oh god.
Here we go.
No.
That's the one you went to.
Oh,
Really?
sorry, Kill Tony.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh god.
I feel like
Yeah, please.
I feel like Tony Hinchcliffe just was standing that whole listening off stage the whole time you described it, was just waving
Yeah.
over here. Over here.
Well, that like to me, the good side of it is like Anthony Jeselnik. Like it's someone who like will
Oh, I love
he-
Anthony.
like
Jeselnik.
his humor is so dark, but he also understands like I am making a joke about this. Like I do not believe any of this. It is a character.
Yes.
Like and he has enough charisma and he has enough like repertoire with the crowd to be like we're all in on this joke. Like,
Yeah. Well, also he's been in that business for like 20 plus years at this point. So it's like when someone like a Matt Rife comes in and is like, "Yeah, I'm edgy too," and it's like, "No, sweetie, you just came off of TikTok and thought you were somebody. Calm down." I'm spilling the hot tea. I'm so sorry. To any Matt Rife stands that are listening, I don't hate the guy. I just don't care. I don't know him well enough to like
That's fair.
say
I'll
one
be
way or the
honest.
other.
I've never actually seen his not crowd work stuff.
That's
Well,
what I'm
that's all-
saying.
that's all
I've
his
never
TikTok
seen him
stuff
not do
was.
crowd work, so I'm not gonna say he's
Well,
not funny.
Okay, in his defense,
That's what does well.
and I've heard other comedians say this too, it's a lot easier to put your crowd work stuff on the internet because then you're not giving away anything
Right.
that you would typically use for a special.
Oh, like,
That
when
makes
you,
sense.
when you put out one of the killer jokes and then a year later it's on your special, people are like, I've heard this a million times.
Mm-hmm.
That's like our friend Ryan. That would be my biggest concern whenever Ryan does a special is that countdown joke.
Yeah.
I've seen it everywhere at this point. I'm like, this poor guy. He's gonna have to write something that somehow tops this joke.
Yeah, I feel like his two big jokes. One of our friends, I was in like a comedy troupe with him at college, and then he was like he lived in our dorms and stuff at college, and now he's like a stand-up comedian, and he's kind of blown up on the internet a couple times. He's got like a joke about like the zodiac, and he has one where it's like a countdown joke where he's telling this joke and he's having one of the crowd members like count down a number and he's gonna land on like certain numbers to like hit the joke, and they blew up. They've got like millions of views and it's like, yeah, well, what else does he have in his bag now? Like
Yeah.
I feel like I don't see as much crowd work from him though, which is interesting. But yeah, I feel like Matt Rife was like crowd work and then a special, none of
Mhm.
that. And everyone was like, he's not that funny anymore. Like, what's going on?
well,
Wait, he has to
Crowd work-
actually write jokes?
I don't know.
Well, crowd work's a skill, though. There are people who try and do crowd work who are really bad at
Oh, sure.
it. Who are really bad at
You
it.
have to be very confident in your skills to improv, and you have to
Yes.
also be able to read people, and just by looking at them, tell if they're gonna be receptive. So there is a skill to it. That's why I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, Matt Rife's not funny. Only does the crowd work." Like, it's not that. It's just
Is that
Make-
the IMDb top movie list behind you guys?
Oh god, yeah. Well, because we got it from a friend, and we started knocking them all off. But yeah, we still have some empty slots up there.
I was gonna say there's a decent amount.
Yeah.
That's what we not too long ago did Shawshank Redemption, which was like it's like it's the #1 movie on IMDb, and so
Yeah,
that
that's
was like
that's on our list to do on our show too because I've never seen it.
Yes,
I
it is.
I hadn't seen it.
You know, I was
I've
gonna
never
say it. I was gonna say I could kind of judge, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like unless
I
you,
was like waiting for it. I'm like,
I think I just grew up in one of those households where it was like it's on, so like anytime
Mhm.
whatever else I'm watching goes to commercial break, we're going to Shawshank, and then we're gonna watch it until it goes to commercial break, and then we'll jump back. And so it was just one of those like,
Well, yeah, it was on TNT.
oh
yeah, I was always
yeah,
on TV.
it lived on. It was to TNT what Impractical Jokers is to True TV.
Sure.
Love that.
Oh God.
God,
yeah.
dude. When my wife gave birth, that's what we were watching was Impractical Jokers.
That's so funny.
It was like
Hysterical.
flipping through channels, and it was Impractical Jokers or The Office. So
And in hindsight, you might regret that choice.
She's like, Michael Scott gives me anxiety. Put Impractical Jokers on.
hey,
Please.
I've seen them live, Ben.
Put on the
You
guys
saw,
who were
yeah,
later
you
gonna
saw them live too.
put on the guys who were later gonna find out might be sex pests. Put those guys on.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I kind of forgot
Rough.
about that part. That half of
Yeah,
them
that kind
are-
of already got swept under the rug pretty
That's
quick.
rough, sweetie.
Maybe it's
Welcome
good
to
that
the-
Sal kind of like went and did his own thing. He's kind of like, I'll come back for episodes, but
Yeah, Sal knew when
totally
to
hang out with you guys.
jump ship. Things are getting a little hairy around here. I'm gonna go
No.
do a special.
We'll go hang out with my stand-up friends for a little while.
Hey.
Oh boy. But
So-
yeah,
A question about the remake, real quick.
yes.
I've seen the
Mhm.
poster on here. I assume Uma Thurman is playing? Is it Ula?
Ula. Yeah.
Ula, yes.
Is it a bigger part in the?
Yes.
It is, yeah.
Because like she's like front and center on this poster, and I'm like that
Yeah.
character is not that big.
I was never a fan of the musical, like when it was just a musical, and then when the movie came out, I remember seeing it, but I don't remember like barely anything about it, so I don't think I liked it.
I saw the musical before I saw the original because it was more available.
Mm-hmm.
So I've watched the musical a number of times. I actually don't mind it.
I can name one song outside of probably like "Springtime for Hitler."
Well,
I'm assuming
yeah.
it's in there,
Yes.
but I can name one other song.
They expand like Deutsche Band with Will Ferrell doing it.
Oh God,
Um,
what a joy that sounds like.
it's dopey. Again, it's one of those movies that if you compare the two, it does not live up to this. Like, it's very different. Broderick can't hold a candle to Nathan Lane. Not Nathan Lane.
To Gene
Gene
Wilder.
Wilder. Like, Nathan Lane does his best, and he's probably the best part of the movie. They cut some things out, add some things. It's
As you do when you're changing something from a
Yeah.
regular property to a musical. That tends to happen. That happens a lot more now than it did back then. Every movie is a musical now.
I didn't hate Mean Girls.
I was never into Mean Girls in general, even like the movie. It just missed me for whatever reason, so I didn't like even bother really. But
Well, that's because you like Heather's more anyway.
I do love Heathers.
I have not seen the music.
I was listening to your Sound of Music episode and you started talking about Heathers, I'm like, oh, yes, I love Heathers.
That was also don't listen to that episode of the podcast if you love the movie because it is pretty controversial. I'm the only one
No,
who like loved it. Everyone else was like, I don't get it. I was like,
I will say,
I love
you
Heathers.
pitched that movie. I had just seen a low college level production of the
Mhm, yeah, I remember you
musical,
saying.
so I was already really fucking confused, and then the movie did not help clear things out.
Well, when you watch that movie, that's a movie you have to watch. Heathers is a movie you have to watch probably a couple times. Because
Yeah.
the first time I watched it, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then I watched it again years later, and I was like, "I love this now." And then I listened to the musical, and I was like, "Ooh, this is really." So I think it's just an acquired taste, that movie.
But yeah. Yeah, Heather's was great. We did that for our show. That was a great fun time.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was fun.
so good. So have you seen Bottoms?
No, I want to.
Which one was that?
That's the
Rachel Sonnet. Sonnet?
Yeah.
Sonnet? I don't know how you say her name. It's her, AO.
Yes. Okay, I did
Agree.
see that.
Oh, you saw it.
I saw it on Amazon Prime, so I didn't see like when it came out or anything. I watched it because I was like,
Did it
"Oh,
scratch that
it's gonna
Heather's
be
itch?
funny, yay!" And I didn't laugh one time, and I was bummed out. I didn't laugh once.
I loved it.
I didn't laugh
It
at
scratched my
all. I was
Heather's
so
itch.
upset.
I was like, this is just Heather's for the Gen Zers, you know.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Give it another shot.
I might just because like everyone was saying such cool things about it, and then I watched it and I was like, I'm not getting into this. Like I want to get into this, but I just wasn't. It wasn't hitting. But I'd be willing to try it again. I was just gonna look
All
something
right.
up.
Anybody got anything else to say about the actual movie? I feel like
Oh
we can't
jeez.
start with-
We always do this whenever we guest on other people's shows. We go on tangents like all over the place.
That's just
I mean,
that's just an
that's
episode of
literally-
our podcast.
I was gonna say that's
Okay,
that's
good.
just our podcast, so this is nothing
Oh
new.
god.
If we
Uh,
followed
I-
the plot of the movie, we'd probably get more said. But I feel like we just like we start talking about stuff, and then it's like, all right,
The issue is if you follow the plot of the movie, it's a 90-minute movie, and our podcast we normally end up talking for like 2 hours.
Well,
So either you can quote the entire movie, or you can talk about other stuff.
I always imagine the Pepe Sylvia board.
Oh
Like,
god.
you try
Yeah,
to
just
follow
like
the line of
hither
traffic.
and yon.
oh yeah, I would hate to listen to this podcast. But maybe not. It'd probably be awesome. I
As
don't know.
I'm sitting here recording it, I would hate to be you guys right now.
I would
listening to
hate
this.
to be the person who listens to this because it's just gonna be like, weren't they just
Huh?
talking about recasting this? Now they're talking about stand-up comedy. Matt, right? What is
Where are
happening?
we? What's going on?
What happened? How did we get here?
I would say to have some sort of summary thought. I would say if you're into Mel Brooks or you want to like see if you're into it, because he's obviously a legend in comedy. I don't know if I would necessarily start with producers. I mean, if you want to go chronologically, then this would be the place to start. But I mean, I think Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein are definitely
Spaceballs.
top tier. Spaceballs as well.
I guess
I think-
for those ones, I feel like it just kind of like, what do you want them to spoof? Do you want to spoof Star
Yeah.
Wars? Do you want to spoof westerns?
Right, true. Yeah, this isn't that's true. I mean, this is more kind of a taste of like like Mel Brooks' sense of humor. It's got like that
Was he in the movie, by the way? Did he have a cameo? I feel like
okay. So when we did the Springtime for Hitler song, when we got to that part, there's one line in the song. What was the line, Scotty? It was like
don't-
something.
Don't be silly. Come and join the Nazi party.
Yeah, something like
that's
that.
him.
And I heard it, and I'm like, that sounds like
So,
Mel Brooks.
It's not him.
Oh.
Whoever it is either must have fumbled the line.
Or Mel Brooks just wanted it to be him, so he dubbed it over with his voice. Because I'm like, that is Mel Brooks. So he has a
There
line.
were
in
a
the
couple
movie.
different. There were a couple different times throughout the movie. I was like, this person sounds very. I don't know if it's actually Mel Brooks or if it just sounds very much like a Jewish person from New York City.
Both could be correct.
Well,
But, like,
in
they had, like, the
subtitles for that
gravel-
particular line that was Mel Brooks. It didn't say like. It just said. I think it said like Brooklyn accent, and then the line from the song. In the
Yeah.
so I'm like, God damn it! How dare you?
Well, I think it's one of one of the guys maybe in the bar during the intermission that says something, and I'm just like, that also sounds a lot like Mel Brooks. But I can't tell if that's just the Brooklyn,
It might have
they
just
just
been like
brought someone in and they just sounded identical.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible.
Okay, she's
Well-
stretched again.
Well, that
Calm down.
I always
crazy.
think the landlord also sounds like him in the beginning of the movie.
The landlord was hilarious. He's taking his check, and Zero Mostel's like, "Curse this man. he's a horrible person." And the guy's just like, "Don't listen to him. He's crazy."
I also just love the way we meet him when when Leo just kind of is like sitting there hoping not to be seen and looks
The guy's
kind of
just
peers
like-
over, and the landlord's just like
Shut
just like, wait, where is this going?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like,
No,
who
see,
is
I'll
this
be
guy?
honest. I was expecting it to go nowhere because I just assumed it was a Mel Brooks bit. I'm like, oh, it's just this creepy
that's
dude
a
who
fair
also.
assumption, though.
This is just another creepy dude who also likes to watch whatever is going on,
Watch,
and then
yeah.
he's gonna leave.
Love that.
Seems like something Mel Brooks would do.
That's fair. But
This
yeah,
might
Mel
be
Brooks
cut.
is
This
cool.
might be racist. I don't know.
Oh no!
Uh,
What a wonderful
know
way
why-
to start a sentence.
I don't know why I thought Mel Brooks played Miracle Max in The Princess Bride.
That is another New York Jewish man by the name of Billy Crystal.
I don't know why. Like I was like, is that Mel Brooks? I've only seen Princess
love how
Bride
you're
once.
like, I don't wanna be
What do you
racist.
want from me? Don't,
But, like,
don't look
is
so
this Jewish
disappointed.
guy
man.
another Jewish guy? That was
I mean, to be fair, I will say this:
the dog was
not
offended.
nearly as bad as you preface that to be.
I know that was real. I was so scared.
I was worried you were swinging for the fences, and you were just looking to maybe get on base.
No,
I was very
no,
frightened
it's
by that
just-
statement. I'm like, what is he about to say?
Whenever someone prefaces by saying, "Now what I'm about to say might be racist," I go, maybe don't say it.
He's in makeup. What do you
Holt?
want from me?
But
Holt?
but
mean,
but
I've
then
never
to
think
just
about
be
this
like
before.
these two white guys look alike, I feel like you can still say that. You can still, that's still okay. Apparently, yeah, you can say that.
That's so funny.
These two Jewish comedians from New York.
Oh my god.
I
That
didn't
was
wanna- I
lovely.
didn't
That's
wanna
a
do
great way to end the
stereotyping.
episode right there.
Dylan really wants to be one of those edgy comedians. He's really trying to get that bucket pull on Kill Tony next week.
Oh god.
Figures if he says something edgy here, it might help his chances.
Oh my god. Trying to think of anything that was stood out to me, quotes or anything, to get off the topic of me being racist and edgy, but not doing a good
Can't.
job.
You're
Well,
here now.
It's always so funny because I know this movie. It's a little kind of because it's so dialogue heavy. It's kind of hard to quote at times, but like I remember when I was in like theater class in high school doing the opening bit in like theater, like having to do the like, "You're going to stomp on me, stop!"
Oh my god. You're gonna jump on me.
Like, what? And then like the hysterics part is always great. Like just doing that, like I'm wet and hysterical. Now
Just
I-
that
I'm-
whole
I'm in
like I
pain.
feel like the movie kind of blew its load in that first scene in the office. It's just like that's the best part of the movie. Just that like 20 to 30 minutes in the office where they're coming up with the scheme and everything.
Well, I feel like beyond that, it just kind of just jumps really quickly from scene to scene until we get to like Springtime for Hitler. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do, and then it's just like a scene of them reading scripts. We find Springtime for Hitler, then we go talk to Franz.
We go find the
and-
Vision Man.
We find the director, and then now is the play. And I was like, there's still 30 minutes left in this movie. We're about to watch the entire production or something. What's happening here?
I feel like they didn't know what to do. I didn't feel like they didn't know how to end it. They're like, let's have Max try to get the weird Nazi guy to kill all the actors. And it's like, whoa, wait, how did we get here? And then it's like, no, we're just gonna blow up the theater, and then we're gonna put him in jail, and that's the end of the movie.
Well, you also again, first time director. they're taking a shot. I feel like he probably had enough because with the opening sequence and how that was shot and stuff, with like the opening credits, like it felt like he was padding a little bit because he's like, I probably have an hour and like 20 minutes of material.
Hmm.
I got to get to an hour and a half for theatrical release.
We could have made Springtime for Hitler a 7-minute opening.
So like in the remake, I think the remake is like 2 hours.
Yeah, because they always have to, expand.
Well, yeah, didn't they? But didn't they add like so many songs
They
too?
added songs and
Yeah.
stuff. I think it was mainly Mel Brooks. Like because this is his first movie, they probably didn't like, hey, do whatever the hell you want. Like he couldn't do a 2 hour long movie because they were like, yeah, we don't trust a first time director to do a 2 hour
Yeah.
long movie. So they're like, oh, hour and a
About
half
Hitler.
about Hitler. They wanted him at one point. They were talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, they talked about me not doing Hitler and doing Mussolini."
They're like, Mussolini is softer. We can do Mussolini. And it's like, I don't really think that makes sense. I'm going to do what I'm going to do this over here.
Wow. So I did just listen to your Hairspray episode, but the
Oh, jeez.
the guy who wrote and produced the Hairspray musical movie
Mhm.
also did the producers.
Mm.
So,
And that tells you everything you need to know. Much
yeah,
like Hairspray, you don't have to watch. Actually, it's very similar to Hairspray because it started off as kind of like a cult comedy, and then they turned it into a musical, and then they made that musical into a movie. And it
which
sucked.
which I love the Hairspray, the John Waters version. So,
Mhm.
also, I feel like this. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say I was drawing similarities because I feel like this is. I was gonna say this is maybe Mel Brooks' most like accessible movie, but I don't know if that's true. I feel like it's.
No.
I don't know. I feel like it's his most straightforward, though. I would say
Yeah.
for
Oh,
as
yeah.
zany as it is, I feel like this is his most straightforward movie. But
Yeah, because it's not
Yeah.
really based on anything, so it's not like it's making fun of stuff, but it's not like spoofing anything.
yeah, and it doesn't get too wild or out there with the jokes. It kind of keeps itself in track.
Yeah, I think he was a bit more. I don't want to say like reined in, but I think, and again, first time director probably isn't really thinking as much of like what cutaway gags we could do.
How can we
Yeah.
make this more like a Family Guy episode? I don't know.
But it's more. I get what you're saying because it's not a spoofy thing. It's a narrative thing. It's like we're telling a story, and it's a funny story, but it's an actual story, and we're not just like coming up with gags.
Yeah, this is more of the plot actually is the leading. We had this conversation talking about spoof movies with Top Secret last week, where that movie was very much just a vehicle to get you from gag to gag.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as Mel Brooks kind of went further along, that became very much a thing where, like, yeah, there's a plot, but you don't really need to follow it. It's just really kind
Yeah.
of there, so we have a way to introduce the next funny visual joke we want to do. Whereas this movie's more so like, yes, this movie has a plot, and you should follow it, because that's where the humor is.
Well, yeah. Again, that you're 100% right. There's a reason this won Best Screenplay over 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a weird thing to say.
That's so weird. Producers went over Space Odyssey as well.
But
That's
yeah,
a choice. That's a
Yeah.
choice.
I'm not mad about it.
I mean, I'm sure the screenplay for 2001: A Space Odyssey is not good. There's not that much dialogue in the movie.
Yeah.
You're just reading scenics the whole time. Come on.
open the pod bay's doors, Hal.
Well, what we like to do here at the end of the movie, this isn't a movie. This is a podcast. What am I talking about? What we like to do at the end of the podcast is the guys who have seen it first or have never seen it. Sorry, I'm blanking here. The people who have never seen it first. This is our first time viewing it. We'll give you a fresh rating, a review out of 10, with a little descriptor, and then you guys kind of give what number you had in your mind going in, and then if that changed after watching it. Did it go up? Did it go down? How did nostalgia kind of play into that rating? Um, I can go first.
Sure.
Uh, as someone who I said in the episode, I wasn't a huge Mel Brooks fan. Um, I did like some of his movies, some of them more so than others, but I really liked this movie. Maybe it was just the humor this time. It was a little more reined in and a little more my taste, I guess. Because I do like those kind of like I like the little like meta about like the theatrical industry and that sort of stuff, and like like those kind of movies like Tropic Thunder. Oh, just all the jokes about like the movie industry, so funny to me. So some of the theatrical jokes here were funny, and I just loved the dynamic between Zero Mostello and Gene Wilder. I think those two were like a perfect pairing in this movie. Um, and yeah, like you guys said, like the cinematography and all that, there's not much to it. It's kind of straightforward. It's kind of theatrical in the sense of like the camera doesn't do too many crazy things. Um, I don't know. I really enjoyed this one, and I would recommend it to other people. This was on my list to watch, and I'm glad you guys came on here and were like, "Let's do producers," because we had talked about doing, I think, either this one or the other one, like in March when we were kind of like talking about musicals. And I'm glad we didn't do this. It's not really musical, but yeah, this was on my letterbox to watch list. So I'm glad you guys came on here and got me to watch it. And I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one, and I think it needs a little bit more recognition, especially from like Mel Brooks heads. I feel like people are always kind of going to push you towards like Spaceballs uh, and Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, but I feel like this one's kind of slept on.
Um, yeah, I'm kind of torn because I did like that this movie was different in the sense that it was more plot driven, but I think as someone who does enjoy a lot of the Mel Brooksiness, that when you think Mel Brooks and then you watch this movie, you're kind of just like, man, I kind of wish there was, I kind of wish there was just a little more out there. Um, I love the shenanigans of like, like the Blazing Saddles where they have a similar big song and dance number and then all of a sudden it just breaks into a fight for no reason. Like those types of just out there things that are silly. So as someone who's I guess maybe thinking Mel Brooks going into that with a little bit more of that expectation, it was I don't want to say like let down, but it was just not as much what I was expecting. I think I had it at about I was torn. I was between a 6 and a 7. I'll call it a 6.5. I think this was for someone to be like this, their first movie is hella impressive to me. I just think I prefer even more off. Give me more off the wall shit to happen in a movie, and I will be sitting there chortling to myself and giggling like a schoolgirl.
Ben says he wants more off the wall in a movie about a play about Hitler. So I don't know where else we could take that, but
Yeah, like, where can we go from here?
Oh, we can go more off the wall. we Listen to me right now, Paramount.
Oh, jeez.
I'm available. And I also can work with a low budget.
of $5 million.
Let's get off the wall. Let's go off the wall.
If you give Ben $5 million, and
Some people
the
want
movie
to
only
build
goes
a wall.
for 1 week in theaters.
Yeah.
I will give you
Have to go to Rio.
50%. I will give you 50% of the profits. Do you hear that, Paramount, and also Fox, and also Warner Brothers? All of you,
You all
50%.
get 50%.
You all-
Everybody gets 50%.
Sounds like a hell of a deal. Some people want to build the wall. I just want to throw shit off of it. That's my
That's a
elevator pitch.
fucking bumper sticker if I've ever heard one in my life. That's so good.
God.
Some people just want to build a wall, but I want to throw shit off of it. Oh god, that was good. That's a good Twitter bio right there.
It's like a Hinge profile.
Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. You go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Women love me, fish fear me.
Oh God. So I love this movie. I love pretty much every Mel Brooks movie since I first watched History of the World when I was like 7. Um. So I've watched pretty much every one of his movies. I think, if not close to it. That even if this one was hard to define for years, but like I have this rated as a 10 out of 10.
That's wild, but okay.
I love the dialogue. I love how snappy it is. I just have a good time. It goes on. It's just a fun time, and I kind of just it's just kind of how I feel about Mel Brooks. Is like I could sit here and have a bad day and throw on a Mel Brooks movie and just instantly feel better. You know, like I've watched Young Frankenstein when I've been sick as a dog and felt a little better about myself. I've watched
Aw.
Spaceballs, all those movies. I've seen some of his movies more times than I can probably count.
But would this one be your first choice?
Oh, it wouldn't be my first choice,
Hmm.
but it would. You know, it's still a fun movie. Like again, if I'm gonna watch one, we're gonna watch Spaceballs or Young Frankenstein probably.
Yeah.
But if this was on, hell yeah, I'd watch it again.
So you 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, maybe a 9.5 if I'm being realistic. But still,
It's like, wow, she's really not feeling the 10 out of 10. No, I enjoy it very much. Is it a perfect movie? Obviously not. It's not Mel Brooks' best, but it was a valiant effort for your first movie. I do think that, like I think you mentioned before, there was some padding maybe a little bit throughout, that like we were trying to get our ass to 90 minutes. And like, I've definitely laughed out loud harder at other Mel Brooks movies. So I'm not gonna go 10 out of 10, but I'll definitely give it like a 7.5 out of 10. I feel like that's fair.
it's fair. Fine.
Just
I was-
don't watch the musical. Don't do that to yourself.
I was about to ask, what happens once you guys stop recording and like you gave it a 10 and Frankie gives it like a 4 and you're like, you just guys don't sleep in the same room that night or something?
Yeah. Well, you can find out if you listen to our podcast, Shoot the Flick. But like, yeah, no, we're usually fine.
We're usually fine.
Usually we know full well at this point. We've
Like
been
what the
together
other
so
one thinks in
long.
the moment.
Yeah, if we're gonna introduce each other to something, like we know if the other person's usually not gonna like it or not. Usually, I know for me, like if I'm introducing Scott to something that I know is gonna be bad, the reason I'm doing it is because I want him to like freak out on the mic because I know it's gonna be funny. You know, you can listen to like our Pride and Prejudice episode, our Titanic episode. I don't know. We've had a few where Scott's just like, "This is shit," and I don't understand you. It's terrible, and I'm like, "You don't understand."
Then I get you back with things like Batman and Robin.
Oh god, yeah, he made me watch Batman and
Now
Robin.
you got your Talking Ben's
Oh.
music over here.
Oh man.
Oh my god. Okay.
We were gonna do RoboCop, but then I accidentally deleted the episode. But that's a whole
Whoopsie.
nother story.
Spoiler alert: I didn't love it, so it's probably for the best.
But those were the best ones.
Yeah,
I feel like-
when we fight, it's fun.
I was gonna say, I feel like sometimes when the movie is like really good, you just don't have that much to talk about because you're just like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
loved
You wanna,
this
like,
and I loved it, and then it's like,
have
but
different
when you hate a
opinions.
movie, I could talk for hours about a movie I hate.
Oh
like-
my god. Yeah, we've talked about a lot of terrible movies on our
Put me
show
on my
too. It's always
soapbox.
fun.
But you guys kind of already plugged yourselves, but
Yeah.
let us know a little bit about yourselves and where we can find you. And
So we are a husband and wife duo that introduces each other to different movies every week. We have a great time.
Same.
Shoot the Flick. Wherever pods are casted. We just did we just did another musical on our show, Hello Dolly. That was fun.
That
But
was
Scott, it's a musical, so I assumed Scott would hate it, and he didn't, which was a nice surprise.
wow.
And then yeah, we were supposed to do RoboCop, and then there were technical fuckery, so we're gonna have to do something else next week. But we'll figure that out. So stay tuned because we don't even know what we're doing next week. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure by the time this comes out, we'll know. But yeah, wherever pods are casted.
We're
And
also on Twitter, Instagram.
Oh yeah,
and all
Twitter
those
and
good places.
Instagram at Shoot the Flick. Sorry, I'm tired. It's fucking 10 p.m. and I'm ready to go sleep. Yeah, Twitter and Instagram at Shoot the Flick and all that good stuff.
All right, check out Shoot the Flick, and check out Cocktails and Classics wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you for having us.
Just
Oh
thank you.
no, thank you guys for coming on. It
Thank
was a
you guys
blast.
for coming on.
Like we said, it's probably gonna be all over the place, but hey, it's
That
fine with
works for
us.
us.
That's just an episode of Cocktails and Classics.
I was gonna say that's just a standard episode for us.
Yeah, we'll have to have you guys on our show and
Oh,
see
yes.
how really off the wall we can get with our commentary.
It's always funny because you're like, oh, where can my jokes go? Like, I don't wanna push the buttons the first time
no, we
talking to
don't care.
somebody,
We really
Like,
don't care. When we guest on other shows, I'm always like, am I allowed to curse? I like listen to their shows, so I'm like, if they curse, then I can curse. And if they say crazy shit, then I can say crazy shit.
this is the adults only version, so we can
So
do
I
whatever
don't
the hell
mind.
we want, and we can say whatever the hell.
Cool.
Like I said, I'm all for shit off the wall. So
Okay, I'm gonna literally send them
Language.
like a list of
Oh,
like our craziest
let me-
shit that we have on our
Okay,
list of
yeah.
stuff we need to watch, and just be like, okay,
I
pick
will
one.
I will just say, in terms of off the wall shit, I do like off the wall shit to an extent.
Uh-huh.
You will not believe as someone who works an event where you deal with a lot of blue collar labor. I was on a show floor last week. Some of the things I heard was just not okay. Too far off the wall, man.
Got
Too
it.
much off the wall.
Got it.
let's put it back on.
Some people were way too. Let me say this: some of the people I had to deal with at this convention center were way too much of the. I like to be edgy for the sake of being edgy, and the things
Fun.
I'm saying aren't funny.
Mhm.
But also, I'm gonna keep going until hopefully someone laughs, so I feel validated in my racism.
Right.
Sounds about
We
right.
love that.
We are in a
Love it.
professional setting. You wanna calm down?
Yeah, I mean,
And I love it. I mean, we don't at all. It sucks.
yeah.
But we hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check out next time, whatever we do. Who knows? We also don't know what we do next time, but
Who
uh,
can say?
share us with your friends and family. And as always, watch responsibly.